Yes, check. Hello, hello, test. Hello.
लोगों ने बोला इन रास्तों पे जाना नहीं, ख्वाबों के पीछे जाके कुछ भी है पाना नहीं। देखो जमाना में पुराना हूँ मुसाफिर, जिंदगी ऐसे कैसे कल का ठिकाना नहीं।
Yes, call. Hello.
From mechanical department. From AML department. From the data science department.
Department of Information Technology and Cyber Security.
We are a part of. And we are part of. We are part of. We are part of. We are part of. Tejas 2024. Tejas 2k24.
चला अकेले रास्तों पे ऐसे जैसे मेरे पीछे कोई भी ना, बढ़ता मैं गया ऐसे कोई भी ना सका। वो ढूंढ रहे देखो मंजिल मैंने माना
Hello, 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 hello. Check. Hello.
कोई पूछेगा तेरा पता, मेरा जो सफर है वही मेरा घर है।
Check.
मुझको ना दुनिया की है
Hello, 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 hello.
सपने वही मेरे अपने, मुझको ना दुनिया की है परवाह। मैं हुआ मुसाफिर चलता रहे जो चाहे रोके टोके मुझे कोई भी यहाँ। लोगों ने बोला इन रास्तों पे जाना नहीं, ख्वाबों के पीछे जाके कुछ भी है पाना नहीं। देखो जमाना में पुराना हूँ मुसाफिर, जिंदगी ऐसे कैसे कल का ठिकाना नहीं।
So a very good afternoon to one and all present over here. The energetic young students and innovators who have assembled here for this very valuable panel discussion. So as you can see, this panel discussion topic is exploring experiential learning for startup innovation. And let's once again clap for ourselves for Tejas 2k24, 140 plus innovations at Anurag University. First, I'd like to request Professor Balaji Utla, the Registrar of Andra University, to kindly grace the dais and receive our guests. Welcome, sir. Let me take the honor of inviting Professor U.B. Desai, the Chancellor of Andra University, who needs no introduction and he doesn't like introduction. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Let me welcome Mr. Sateesh Andra, who is a venture capitalist and sir also doesn't like introduction. I welcome you on behalf of Andra University, sir. He is now the Managing Director at India Partners and a leading venture capitalist. Welcome to Andra University, sir. And now one person who definitely needs introduction, Professor William Oakes from Purdue University. He has a PhD in mechanical engineering and is a director of EPICS program, the engineering projects and in community service. We welcome you to Anurag University on behalf of all the student community of Anurag University, sir. So the fifth panelist of today is Shanta Thoutam ma'am. She'll be joining us in 2 minutes. And the moderator for this panel discussion will be our own registrar, Professor Balaji Utla sir. I hand over the mic to Balaji sir to take it forward.
Thank you, Tara. So welcome Sateesh, Andra, Professor Desai, Professor Oakes. The theme, I think Shanta is also here, all right. Let me also formally do the honors for her. Yeah, thanks Shanta. Typical Japanese thing, you know, efficiency, just in time. GIT. I know the panel is a little too far away in terms of this, so let me try to bring it a little closer, psychologically if not physically. I have a tough job, I have a very tough and a very great panel to be able to extract the best out of each one of you. What I thought was the format, I'll request each one of you to talk to 2-3 minutes on the exploring experiential learning for startup innovation from your perspective. Later I would bring in a couple of questions, then each one of you could answer in turn. Then later we'll open the space to people to ask questions. Towards the end probably you'll get an opportunity to close with a message for the students. All right. So, Professor Oakes.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Well, you did way better than the faculty we just talked to. So as students, like when I think of the experiences, there are a couple things. A lot of your peers will go through their program looking to do the minimum. What's the easiest path to go through? And you want to look for what are the hard things. If there's an opportunity for a new experience or new something that you may need to take a risk at, maybe even worry that if you're going to succeed, those are the kinds of experiences you want to look for while you're a student. the risks of not doing well as a student are much less than after you're going to graduate. And they're going to help differentiate you. Also, when you're looking at experiences, if I really want to be an innovator and do a startup, don't just look for experiences that you think are going to create a startup while you're an undergraduate. The odds of any of you creating Infosys as an undergraduate are low. But what you want to look for are experiences that are going to give you fundamental skills. And one of them is, how do we identify needs, real needs that other people have, and how do we bring a team together to develop a solution for that? It means looking outside of yourselves, not doing just something that you look at, but can I get experiences where I'm designing something for others and working with a diverse team, because those are some of the fundamental skills. There are other things you're going to need to learn for startup and business stuff that I'm sure you're going to hear, but those are the core, and those are not always easy, and sometimes those experiences are beyond what you're doing, but those are some of the suggestions I have.
Yeah, I think before Sateesh will give the lady an opportunity in terms of, yeah.
That's great insights that you have shared with our students' groups. Most of you guys know, India has grassroots level challenges. Right? For you to understand grassroots level challenges and then come up with innovative solutions, could be frugal solutions. That's where your experiential should start. And look at the Indian innovation ecosystem to begin with. After like almost 10 plus years, if you look at any innovation ecosystem of a state or a union territory across India, it's emerging. Some are kind of, if you take Telangana innovation ecosystem, it's very progressive. And if you take an innovation ecosystem in Meghalaya, even they are also emerging. So across India, we started building and strengthening the innovation ecosystem. So that's where your learning should start. Look at our own innovation ecosystem, because the problem statements, the grassroots level challenges that we are addressing, they are very unique for us. So that's my thought processes. Even when you look at the innovation ecosystem of Telangana, it's very progressive and very unique, because we said what exactly we needed to place Hyderabad on the global map. Do we need an incubation center? Yes. We have the world's largest innovation campus, where we have India's and world's largest incubation center, T-Hub. We have Telangana State Innovation Cell, which is again looking at strengthening, building and nurturing the culture of grassroots and rural innovations. We have T-Works, India's largest prototyping center. We have V-Hub, explicitly for women entrepreneurs. Just look at our own innovation ecosystem to begin with, so that you get enough inspiration and enough motivation to think about having your own startup, becoming an innovator, providing jobs to your peers and other people who are seeking for employment.
Thank you. Would you like to?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to Anurag, Nilima for the opportunity, Professor Udai, Dr. Balaji, Professor Oaks, Dr. Shanta. Good to be on this panel. So probably I'm the least educated among all of the people who are sitting here. So they have all done their PhDs. I have not done my PhD. So I think if you really look at what we use today, right? Almost every hour, these things didn't exist 25 years ago. A browser didn't exist 25 years ago. A search didn't exist 25 years ago. A smartphone didn't exist 25 years ago. So it's very difficult to imagine and say what would we be using 25 years from now, right? So never stop imagination, right? Never cease to think. It's very important. I kind of, have a little different view from, Dr. Oaks. If you really look at the best companies that have changed the world, were built by students who just graduated. Sun Microsystems, which kind of revolutionized computing, Scott McNealy, all of them graduated from Stanford and built it. Google was 2 master's students out of Stanford. Yahoo was from Stanford. Cisco was from Stanford. So if you really look at all the companies that have kind of changed the world, connected the world, helped the world communicate, right, were built by students who just graduated. The advantages that you have is ignorance is bliss, right? As you grow, you tend to analyze a lot of things, and when you analyze a lot of things, sometimes you become very defensive. Whereas with ignorance, I don't mean when I say ignorance, don't be just completely ignorant. I mean, do your analysis, but you need to have the courage to go get started. So definitely, I think, I wish I were your age. I'm pretty sure my father would say the same thing to me, because you have so much of access to what's going on around you, right? So even if you don't know how to become an entrepreneur, it's fine, learn from others. Like Shanta said, go talk to a few startups at T-Hub, or invite an entrepreneur to come and talk to you folks, right? So I think very, very exciting times. All of you should really take advantage of this opportunity and aim for moonshots. That's what I'm saying.
Thanks, Satish. Before Professor Desai takes over, when we grew up, we were told there was a choice between Saraswati and Lakshmi. You chose Lakshmi, we chose Saraswati. All right, sir.
So, thanks very much, Balaji, for giving this opportunity. I think these are very, in my opinion, complex kind of phenomena. The word startup has become very, everybody talks about it a lot. It has its pluses and minuses. Experiential learning is another vocabulary which has become very popular in the last more than 5 to 7 years, maybe a little more. Things like that did exist. The reason I'm saying is that, if I talk to my classmates, if I talk to a lot of alumni that I know of from the IT system, most of us would claim that, generously speaking, 30% of our education came from the classroom, 70% came from outside. In fact, the other day I don't mind taking his name also, we were on a conference call together with Anand Deshpande. Some of you might have heard of it. He is the founder of Persistent Technologies in Pune. So he was also saying the same. He was just laughing when I made this statement. He said, yeah, probably more than 70%. Now, the point is, what happened during those 70-80%? And I think that is the experiential part. Now what is happening is it's nice that they are trying to kind of incorporate that experiential learning into the curriculum. But sometimes I worry, because the moment you get something into the curriculum, it becomes what I call a structured education. On the other hand, your innovative skills will actually sharpen in the unstructured domain. If you look at many things, everybody has seen Social Network. I presume all of you have seen it. Now, if you look at it, it was not something that Zuckerberg did by extending what he learned in the classroom, or somebody taught him in the classroom, or some roundtable discussions that he sat through when he got an idea. It was a highly unstructured thing because of various reasons. I'm basing it on the movie. Reality could be something else. But in some sense, that is how innovations do occur. Yes, Google, whatever little I know, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, they were doing their PhD with Motwani. So there was a very structured thing. So both are important at some point, but I think you have this unique opportunity of getting this tremendous time to do unstructured things. As you get older, you don't find that time. You are caught up with too many other things besides, your life, earning, this, that. 20 other things will catch up. And I agree with Sateesh. The this is the time to be courageous. As you get little older, the world doesn't let you be courageous even if you want to. There are too many other things that come into the picture. So I think one, take this opportunity, that is my message, and make the most of it. Okay? And remember the 70-30 formula, or 80-20 if you wish. You have this free time, make the most of it. You don't kind of miss that particular opportunity. And you never know. And I agree, what Will is saying and what Sateesh both have a point out here. Chances of somebody coming up and starting creating another Infosys in India, okay, it's very hard. It's not that particularly easy. But you never know. The other thing which I learned in the US and which we don't emphasize in India is what if. I think you should carry that spirit of what if, along with what Sateesh mentioned about imagination. Carry the spirit of what if, because nobody knows, by the way. You try something, who knows, it may click. Maybe 90% of the time it may not click. Doesn't matter, but there is a learning that's going to take place even if it doesn't click. So experiential, unstructured learning are very, very important for innovation and eventually startup and maybe after that a unicorn if you're lucky. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Desai.
Can I clarify something?
Yeah, sure, please.
I was going to say, what I meant to say, or what I tried to say, don't start going, hey, we're going to do a startup and become rich. All the examples that you cited were people that had a passion for something and developed something. I do believe, and I'll tell you something I told the faculty group, the solutions to today's really tough problems are in this room. Actually, I told them they're in their classrooms, but not at the front. But it's finding those things. What I see is too many students go, we want a startup. We're going to get rich. Okay, now we need to come up with an idea.
Yeah, thanks, Professor Oaks, for sharing that. Just building on the theme of what Professor Oak has devoted almost 3 decades of his life at Purdue, and in light of what Shanta also talked about. Both of you, she talked about grassroots problems, and you talk about engineering projects in community service. Shanta, would you like to throw a little bit of light in terms of what kinds of problems that you see have a potential where some of the students can start to struggle to think and apply their mind?
So, in fact, during lunch I was talking about, so in fact I resigned from my CIO role 2 days ago. So, 7.5 years for so I know the next one there. So we were supposed to execute a pilot program wherein we brought the best subject matter experts across India to partner with us. Balaji, Telangana State Innovation Cell, Unat Bharat Abhiyan, National Innovation Foundation, and Atal Innovation Mission with us. The fact that we have to, the journey of an innovator starts from what is the problem statement, identifying the problem statement, and then solving that problem. And how we recognize the innovator who is solving that problem, nurture the innovation, and disseminate the commercialization aspect, right? So, all of you guys, a lot of potential lies in identifying the problem statements. As I say, like, identify the problem statement, I'm sure like you will take up your cell phone and you Google like, what kind of problems are existing and what kind of technological solution you guys can provide. But believe me, there are a lot of problems that are existing in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. If you go to villages, if you interact with villagers, you will see school dropouts innovating solutions. Telangana State Innovation Cell, we've been scouting and identifying hundreds of innovations on a yearly basis. All these innovations are technical mostly, and they are solving bigger problems. And we could nurture these innovations and disseminate so the benefit reaches the citizens of Telangana, and not just Telangana, across the globe. So a lot of innovations that we scout and recognize got immense potential. tell you, like, there are a couple of them, but we have a very serial innovator from Kadwal Chintalkunta village, tier 3 village. She's a school student and she was playing in the playground and she stumbled on a piece of plastic bag. Universally, we grow saplings in plastic bag, black plastic bag. This child, she went home, she thought about it and she said, why are we still growing saplings with a piece of plastic bag? Why can't we avoid? Everyone is talking about single-use plastic. Then she went home, she took groundnut pod. Groundnut is grown in Gadwal district. So she took the groundnut pod, which is a waste, grinded it, and added some binding factors, and she made this biodegradable.
Okay.
It's a simple innovation. Even today, a couple of your innovators, like the student innovators, showcase innovations for eco sticks.
Yeah.
Better eco sticks, like they took the sawdust and they created these
Yes,
boards kind of in between.
Yeah, that was the real problem because some of our classes are too have too much of ego. So I think they solved that problem. Thanks, Shanta, for sharing.
There are so many such kind of
Thanks.
innovations.
So Sateesh, let me just move to you a little, since we have to manage our time a little more efficiently, and Professor Desai is a hard stop, and all of us are. So I'll just ask you a question. You have been, you were an entrepreneur yourself, and now you are a venture capitalist to invest. Now everybody talks about this rosy picture that I have an idea, somebody is going to put their hard-earned money behind me. So what are some hard facts that our students have to learn if they aspire, if they come up with a good idea, like Shanta said, something relevant to solve the problem of the society? But what is that you would, what have you seen so far in short? Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think one needs to look at it from 2-3 perspectives. If you really look at the whole entrepreneurship and venture capital, US is at the forefront. So if you look at data from 1970s, it's 55 years almost, trillions of dollars invested, millions of startups. So 55 years of time span, trillions of dollars, millions of startups. Only 10% of them are successful. What's the reason? The reason is not that the other 90% of the entrepreneurs are clueless. A lot of things have to come together to create success for a company. It's not about your idea alone, right? You then need to conceptualize and build a product or a service. You need to make sure that it's not a vitamin, but it's a painkiller. Fundamentally, good times people buy vitamins, but they need painkillers all the time. And then you need to make sure the unit economics work, right? What is the cost of creating that product versus what is someone willing to pay you? And can you then build a viable business? So a lot goes into beyond, product creation. Simple example, it's easy to build a car, but it's very difficult to build a car company, because a car company means you need to build a brand, you need to build distribution network, you need to build financing, you need to build operations and service centers, right? Technology alone doesn't become a car company. So very clearly, I think if we are aware that, look, the probability of success is going to be low, that doesn't mean, you need to look at the glass as half empty or be pessimistic. I always look at, optimists invented the aeroplanes and pessimists invented the parachutes. We need both of them, right? So very clearly, you have to decide the potential of your idea. And there's nothing wrong if it's going to become a 100 crore business or even a 10 crore business. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong if a venture capitalist does not give you money. You are creating employment, you are making the world a better place to live, you are contributing to the GDP, and you are obviously an entrepreneur, right? So I think the lens, glorifying it or kind of celebrating this entrepreneurship and saying, oh, they raise so much of money, they are a unicorn, they're all over, that's not the right thing to do. I think if you look at Europe, does it very, very, very well. A lot of small, medium enterprises in Europe continue for hundreds of years because they solve problems and they continue to innovate.
Just to add on to that, I'm a non-believer, so I believe that life is only one. But as an entrepreneur, is it multiple janmas or a single janma?
No, I think it is one because entrepreneurship engulfs you. I keep joking that there's no difference between gambling and entrepreneurship. Both are addictive, right? There are very few serial entrepreneurs who have done it really well. I mean, Steve Jobs and now Elon Musk. But very, very few have, even Elon Musk, we have to wait and see how he's going to execute, right? I think all of them are off to a good start, SpaceX, Tesla. In fact, one of the funds I worked for, we were the first investors in his ventures, both in Tesla as well as Solar City and SpaceX. So I think many avatars of entrepreneurship is not easy. A lot of times when you are in that journey, you yourself do not know where you're going. Travis Kalanick, Uber founder, if you sit with him and ask him, what did he want to do, when he built Uber? He wanted to bring 50 Mercedes Benzes and then rent them in San Francisco. That's all he wanted to do. He never envisioned that he's going to have a global company called Uber and it's going to become so popular world over. I think as you continue the journey, a lot of things become very, very clear. You need to be patient enough. You need to have your antennas up. I know a lot of you are engineers. You need to catch the signal, not the noise, so that you know what you want to focus on. Focus and prioritization at every step is going to become extremely important. So being aware, taking a chance, and going out there and doing it, you're not going to lose. I think you will always get the job in ISRO or TCS or Infosys or Wipro elsewhere once you are on a path to entrepreneurship, because the amount of learning is infinite. What you learn as an entrepreneur every day is going to be humongous, but it's going to be a lot of pain. Nothing comes without pain. I think we need to be ready for the pain. We need to commit to the process.
Thanks, Satish. Just picking up on the thread from what you spoke, there are a couple of things that you spoke. One, you talked of Scott McNeely. Obviously, he had Vinod Khosla. So one is a management guy, one is a tech guy. Prof. Desai, you always keep advising engineering institutions and many of us that humanities are an important part of learning. And you suggest that they're not some easy to get marks kind of subjects. Now, in light of what he mentioned, how do you see that? And why should students go understand, attend organizational behavior, organizational psychology or something of that kind?
I think, I think that's a very good point that you brought up, and something which we don't quite realize, in fact, maybe because today morning also I was talking about it. And even as a person, I didn't realize the value of humanities and arts, culture and arts. Maybe after I finished my PhD, 5 years after I finished my PhD. When you are studying engineering, you think, hey, this is it, the world is, the engineers are the great guys, they are going to solve all the problems in the world. But then you realize life is a lot more to it. In fact, I'm forgetting the name of the first name, someone called Brooks, I think. Someone mailed me an article recently. You must have seen it. I'm forgetting. Shanta mailed it on a group chat. Okay, on that culture and arts is what really makes a real complete human being, and not just simply engineering. So also professionally, if you look at it, see, eventually, as Sateesh pointed out, building a car is just one component. Now, when you want to develop, say, a distribution network, you need to deal with people. And I'm saying from a relatively second hand, I know one gentleman at Suzuki, Mr. Saito-san, he developed the whole distribution and service network for Suzuki in India. Okay, he's still with Suzuki Japan, of course. Now, when I see him, I mean, I don't remember his background in terms of his education, but he's a great people's person. I mean, normally we feel the Japanese are very reserved and all. I mean, he can get across to you like this in 30 seconds. And that is a skill which he developed through humanities, through arts and culture. Now, you can't develop a distribution network by tightening nuts and bolts, or by doing some soldering or putting some ICs out there. It's a much more complex process which involves dealing with human beings at all levels. That is, The guy is going to be a dealer, then you want to make sure that there is a guy who is going to service your car and change the brake shoes. Okay, that person is also a human being finally, at a different level. How are you going to deal with him? This is what eventually comes out of humanity. It is not simply learning some, sometimes I think the problem lies with us. We make teaching of humanity so very boring that we turned off students. I think one has to change it in a manner that it becomes interesting to students. But it's very, very critical, sociology, anthropology, whatever, literature, etc., etc. Even on a minor extension that I'll give, in IIT Hyderabad, we started a 1 credit course every semester on creativity. And the reason I said, and what they would learn, drama, they will learn about music, Hindustani, Western, piano music. We had one person here in Hyderabad, Ramana Gogulla. He gave a course at IIT Hyderabad with a course title called Masti with Music. Can you imagine a transcript with a subject, 1 credit, I got an A grade on Masti with Music. But we allowed it, of course. We had the freedom to do it. And someone asked me, why are you doing all these things? I said, tomorrow I expect you to become a CEO or a CTO. If you are a CEO or CTO, what are you going to converse when you are maybe having some wine? I shouldn't say, I guess I can say that.
Some sharbat, sir.
Or you are having some exquisite meal. You're going to talk about art and culture. Nobody talks about nuts and bolts at that point. Now, what are you going to talk about unless you know something about it? You look like a fool out there. So I think it is very, very critical in my opinion, even as an entrepreneur, even as a person who starts a company, to know about this. You see some of the CEOs that they talk, they're so articulate. You listen to Anand Mahendra, you listen to Nandan Nilekani, you listen to Chris Gopalkrishnan. They can get across something so succinctly, much better than any professor who has spent a lifetime teaching. They know how to put things in a package, in a limited time, limited space, and get the message to you immediately. Okay. Now that is a skill which engineers have to develop by going to other domains. I'll stop here, otherwise,
Thank you. Just building on what Professor Desai talked about as a theme that seems to be emerging, and I believe in emergent phenomena, so I'm not going by a playbook. Professor Oakes, in your experience of 3 decades on epics, how did you see the engineering students learn from doing projects in the community service compared to people doing projects in the laboratory or compared to doing projects that are given by their professors? Do students enjoy? Do they love it? What do they learn? What do they gain?
A lot. So one of the things to build on what you said about the humanities and those is there's skills that you're going to learn in some of these other classes that are going to complement your technical skills. A lot of what they learn is how to work with people. And how do we work with people that we might stereotype and not expect to be able to learn from. I appreciated some of the conversations that you said that we in higher education value titles. You notice the education. But out in the world, some of the best ideas don't necessarily come up from people with titles. And I find students needing to learn because they tend to learn that. We tend to think coming from the university, going to a village, oh, we're going to go help the village. And what I see and what I've experienced is I go out now and I'm like, I wonder what they're going to teach me. That is a skill. I think one of the most important mindsets that we can teach you all is when you interact with other people, be thinking about what can I learn from them, regardless of their title or their status. The other thing I see is a motivation because they're realizing that they can make a difference. I have a lot of students come back to say, you know, I really appreciated being able to make a little difference.
Just to make it a little more concrete for people, like you said, you are a visual person. Might not be a bad idea to give a small example of how the students learned. One of the examples, obviously without violating anybody's privacy or things of that kind.
So, well, actually, I'll give you an example. We had a team that was working with, well, let me go back. In the United States, our country was occupied by Native people before our ancestors went through and moved them out. And our country's put the surviving indigenous people on land as pretty much worthless. So we work with an area that's actually the poorest in the United States. And we're working on helping them develop greenhouses, how they can grow plants. It's a terrible climate in the United States. It's hotter than what we have, and it's much, much colder than anything you all have ever experienced. And so the growing season's short. And we would come up with designs, and then we would talk to our partners, and I said, well, we took your designs that you sent us in April, and while you were on a summer vacation, we did some things, and we came out with these, and our students were like, whoa, that's, how did you do that? How did you come up with that? It's not what they expected, because the students on the other side, they were doing it with vocational programs, so they were 2-year degrees, not even a 4-year degree. But they had practical skills and ideas that were beyond what we had. That ability to look at others, I've seen directly transferable. If you're working in a manufacturing environment, the people on the factory floor often have ideas that can help you innovate, that can help with the company. There are other people as you're developing products, if you're trying to create your startup in you want to get consumers, potential users, to start to tell you things to improve your product. I'll tell you another story that's funny. Usually, we will do projects coming from the United States. We want to do them in other countries. And we've seen engagement, just like with the indigenous people, where we've shared designs that people have come up with the designs, modified them, and shot them back, and our people were like, wow, we never would have thought of that. More sustainable solutions, more innovative solutions.
Thanks, Professor Oaks. I was reminded of one of my NGO friends. I think some of us should talk to NGO friends, especially with some sharbat in the evening. You'll come up with some very interesting ideas. One premier engineering institute, I will not name them, they made a smokeless chula because smoke leads to cancer and children grow up in small huts, they come up with that. So they wanted it to promote, they gave it to these people. The women used it for 1 week and they stopped using after that. So they asked this NGO friend to go and then do this study. The engineering was done, so this guy went around and came back and asked them, they said, sir, this, the flames anch jo hai, it's a very small one and I can't make so many rotis. I need to make a bigger roti. And this was presented back to the Premier Institute. The professors were very upset. Why can't the women make many more rotis? So I think that talks of empathy that you talked about, that you talked about that. So at this point of time, I'd like to take a short pause and invite questions around. I know we have to efficiently, we're an engineering school and engineering mindset. There's something that we call engineering as a vritti and engineering as a pravrutti. So you think like an engineer versus having a profession of an engineer. So we may have to request some of you to give a couple of mics. I'll give mine for the circulate around. Whoever introduce yourself and keep your questions very short. Sometimes we make big opinions and then after that the question will come very short. If you keep your question short, you'll get a big answer. If you have a very long question, you'll get a short answer, yes or no. This is what they teach in social science. Yeah, please take my mic also, please.
Thank you for this opportunity, panel. I have a question for the whole panel. Whoever is interested to answer can answer. The question is, sometimes a solution or a product itself doesn't thrive on a problem. So how to navigate with our engineering minds where there is no problem, just it's a random thought in your mind. How do you navigate that? I am Pranav from data science.
Clear about your question, but if I understand whatever little I can, see, I think you need to do the things. You know, as they say, the test of the pudding is eating it. So you have to actually make the pudding and make people taste it. If they like it, you are successful. If they don't like it, tough luck. That's what I would say. So you have to actually do things, you know. So whatever thoughts you have, be it random, non-random, ideas, you know, well thought out, whatever it is, finally there has to be something that you can say, aha, I have this. As you gave an example, you know, you have some piece of land and you want to convert it into a resort. There are thousands of resorts. You may have some idea of making it into something unique, but you have to actually do it, not just go around with a PPT and say that this is what I'm doing. That won't work. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. Thanks. Anybody else? Questions, please? Yeah, there's one lady here. Can the people with the mic, can you come here to the front? Yeah. Yes, introduce yourself and yeah.
Greetings to the panel. This is Tanuja from CSE department. Speaking of innovation, the only situation where we people as engineers are stopping with an innovation is capital. Because investing in an idea is also a point of view which I have faced a problem with, because I come from a middle class background, and investing some capital into a startup is actually a point of discussion with my parents. So how do I come to a conclusion about a startup idea, or how do I direct myself into capital?
Yeah. No, I think I know about others, all of us come from middle class families, right? So I don't think that's a limitation by itself, but that's a good question. So, you know, once you have your idea, today you have to believe that capital is a commodity. I think for good ideas, there's plenty of capital around the world. You need to, in the world of networking like LinkedIn and Twitter, all you have to do is write a nice blog. Let's say even if you were to write a nice blog about the problem you're trying to solve, and then there are at least 50 get-togethers in Hyderabad every month, if not more. Investor get-togethers. Get in there, talk to them, tell them you need 30 minutes of their time, and explain to them, and someone who is interested will write you a check. 20 years ago, that was not the case. People had to really go mortgage their homes and mortgage their lands or whatever. Today, there's plenty of risk capital available, so don't look at that as a limitation at all. A lot of times, it's kind of more the barriers in our mind than what is happening out there, in reality. So just go out there, and I'm pretty sure initially you feel shy or worried that will they connect with me or my idea, but you need to overcome that inhibition.
Thanks, Sateesh. Shanta.
I'll add a point here. In fact, with the innovation ecosystem that is strengthening across India, there are many ways. If your solution, if your idea is substantial, there are grants given away. There are many ways to kind of participate in different programs, and even in Telangana, we have T-Series by Telangana State Innovation Cell, a grant given to innovators up to 2 lakhs. So you could apply for such kind of opportunities. Even AICs and ACICs that are set up on campuses are kind of giving opportunities to promote and to foster the culture of innovation across the campus. So you guys have opportunities. It's just you have to do some homework. What kind of grants available for you? Where exactly you can targeting VCs right away is not the right approach, but you have to secure at least some grant monies from the campus settings and from the ecosystem, and then you can build on top of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Satish for reminding. Suddenly I remembered my first venture, it was an adventure. I had to send half of my land, which would be $1 million today, but that's what life is all about. Anyway, any other questions anyway, please? Yeah, there are a couple of questions. One gentleman in the back, pink, orange shirt there. Yeah. There. Yeah. And there's one question here, there's one gentleman. One more question there, one lady behind you. Green, yeah.
Good afternoon, panel.
Yeah, okay.
I'm Pawan from AIML. My question is that managing the financial, how important managing the financials of a startup or let it be a company? I've seen few startup stories which were crashed. Even the idea was so good, even the idea was $1 million idea. Because of lack of financial knowledge, many startups were closed or stopped, just like that. So, is it important for a student to have financial knowledge also, and the idea about the startup, or should I have to just work on the idea of my startup?
Yeah, I think you two guys seems to be favorites. And basically, he's saying, should I be knowing about finance? Yeah, sure.
No, you should have idea about finance. That's important. I disagree that a startup failed because they didn't have idea about finance. The idea itself might have been a wrong idea, but it's like what Professor Uday said. You need to know people skills. If you have to hire the right people, because you're selling them a vision for them to come and work for you. Similar way, you need to know how to run your organization outside of building your product. That's not rocket science, kind of running those finances. So having that knowledge is important. That's why interdisciplinary skills are so important. Very, very, very important.
Thank you.
So again, a startup constitutes of a team. You need some co-founders also. So maybe you are really good at building the prototype and the product, but someone else will definitely join and will bring that kind of expertise, saying like, hey, you know what, I look at the operations, I look at the accounting. So you need to kind of build a team to support. Startup is not just because of one founder. So you need a strong team to take the whole vision of this startup to the next level. So you need to be, again, you need to have the knowledge, at least the basic knowledge how a startup works, what kind of monies you need to have so that like you have to pay your people who are working for the startup. And again, it's not a small fee to run a startup for sure.
This is a realization that comes much later. Financial management is a must in life. Startup, no startup, whatever it may be, and we never teach that. I don't know of any of my friends who ever learned it. We learned it by talking to each other. Somebody telling you should do this, do that. I think it is important. Maybe Anurag can take a lead. Just one credit course on finance management. If your father gives you pocket money, how are you going to manage that? You go and spend it in one movie, and whatever that you're doing, the few hundred rupees or 1,000 rupees is given. No, I think that is something you have to develop. Everybody learns it. Sometimes by falling down, bruising your knees, you learn it a little better. But your friends help you. But I think financial management is very, very critical. Even in a startup, and this is a story which I hope I'm narrating it correctly. Ajay Chaudhary, one of the founders of HCL, used to tell me that when they started HCL, they were innovating and building computers, really hardware computers, by the way. And they say that we were roughly at the same pace as the PC that was coming up in the US. That time they didn't have money. So this is again financials. What did they do? They said, okay, they had a slight thing where they would sell calculators. And whatever money they made by selling calculators, they funded the innovations and the other things that are required. Now again, that is a component to me of financial management. There is no engineering required out here. So I think financial management is extremely crucial. Unfortunately, this is one topic which nobody teaches. I have not seen any university teaching it anywhere in the world. Even in US, engineering students don't learn financial management. Maybe as part of your gen ed in Purdue, there may be some course somebody may move out and do it.
120 innovations that were displayed today, There is one innovation which talks about an app which will tell you what exactly you are spending on. Absolutely, like that apps, like wherever you are paying, like at the end of the month you can open your this app and see based on the text message that you get that you have spent 100 rupees so and so and so. Based on that text message, it will take that text message, that amount, and the app will kind of put together profile your spending.
Yeah, there's
So
a
that's
say-
an innovation came from your campus, and I was so impressed, an hour ago.
Yeah, there's a saying in Tamil. It says, even if you're throwing money, count and throw. Yeah, I think that lady I had a question there, green shirt.
Thank you.
Your Excellency panel. So my question is, as a beginner, as an engineer, how do we develop our distribution network? We have solution, we have an idea, we build a product. But the thing is that we are not aware of the society or people. So how do we approach them? And what's your best technique? Thank you.
Some jugaad here.
So there's two parts. I think when you're developing your initial idea, you don't want to think large scale. Initially, you want to get to know a group of users, whether it's a specific village or something, to hone the idea. Then when you're looking for disseminating, or that next step, you can look at some of the entrepreneurial innovator networks. If it's in a community, organizations, NGOs, or other groups that have those pieces. But what I've seen is successful ones developing a product, or you mentioned like Uber's like, hey, I want to develop this smaller network first. Can I get something that's going to start? Where I see a lot of students fail is they start thinking of the big thing before they've got something that's viable. And so I think you can start with your local networks and then look at some of the other opportunities to build on those networks.
Definitely, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, one and all.
One second, I
One
think
question.
the panelist would like to answer.
So, if you look at the innovation ecosystem nowadays, if you take an incubation center, the incubation center provides a lot of services. So they aggregate all the vendors who are willing to provide services to support a startup. So if you reach out to any AIC, ACIC, and like once you mature, definitely T-Hub and all these incubation centers will support. But they will help you to connect to the network that you are looking for. So AICs, ACICs, even the e-cells, like most of them are bringing these vendors who are providing support. And again, these vendors provide support to startups for initial couple, the services for initial couple months for free, and then they will charge. It's a freemium model. So, but again, you could definitely leverage the ecosystem that is already existing. You just have to have that exposure way to go. You don't need to build everything from scratch. The system, the ecosystem is existing. It just you have to reach the right destination and ask for that help. And those are the incubation centers. Across Telangana, we have close to 80 incubation centers, not just in Hyderabad, but across Telangana.
Yeah, thanks, Shanta. I think we'll take one last question from there. Yeah.
Greeting to the panel. My question is all about when we have a good idea and we have got a good startup with the idea, and at the present time situations we have got with a good, huge success. But when it comes to the further, when the time changes, for what do we need to follow the things and what do we need to do for a long-term success, where we can get our startup to a huge amount, where the people will find our startup in a huge scale, and not only that, and we can have a huge amount of life in this society.
My suggestion is think through your question. That is almost like a thesis length question. You ask a short question, we'll get a long answer. There are a couple of more. Quickly, the lady in yellow here, please take the mic. And there's one gentleman in yellow shirt there. Yeah, ladies first.
Maybe his question on scaling up startup.
All right, please, meanwhile, you can answer while she's. Yeah, I think what you can do is, at the end of it, some of them would be walking along. You can do walk the talk. Yeah.
I, Savika Reddy from EC, second year. As one of the panel mentioned, millions of the startups failure. So could you please tell me the main reason for the failures and how can we overcome from that?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. So they've analyzed, and one of the biggest reasons for failure is timing. Someone else was asking this question, right? So I've got an idea, and can that become a company? Can that become a product, and can that become a company? Let me give you a very simple example. When I was returning from US, I lived there for a long time. I was returning back to India. I took lots of pictures. My parents came to US and we went around because I was relocating. Took a lot of pictures, and my son lost our camera, digital camera, in a cab in Boston. Right? I was feeling miserable because all along I was saying, as in when you take pictures, why couldn't I put these pictures back on internet? And so that way, I'm not worried about losing this camera. Right? It's not an idea, extraordinary idea. If you look at why did Dropbox happen, or look at, I know all of you must be on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram, but Facebook or whatever. The reason for Facebook or Instagram to happen, or take even Uber, why did Uber become successful? It's because of the $1 GPS chip. The GPS chip became $1 and it went on to the mobile phone. So with that, you would know the coordinates, the lat-long coordinates. If you didn't have the GPS chip on the phone, you would not know where the person is, and so Uber will not be of any value. So one of the most important things is timing. So when you have an idea, you need to look at are the other components that make it happen. Smartphone, camera, every smartphone with a powerful camera made Instagram happen. Smartphone with a GPS chip at a very low cost made Uber happen. So timing plays the most important role, and majority of the time startups fail because either they are way ahead before their time has come, or they have other set of issues like execution issues, and teams keep fighting with each other because human beings cannot get along. That's the reason. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Harit from School of Management. I'm a management student here. So my major question is, why do collaborations fail? There are many collaborations like an engineering student and a management student, engineering student and a chemical student. There are many collaborations, but what's the main reason why they are failing? And what's your insights on collaboration?
Maybe Balaji may be the best person. I think he worked for a big company. Okay, so he might. But I think, see, these are people dynamics. The chemistry is not there, and nobody can. I don't think there is a unique answer. That why two people become friends and why two people after a year drop out of becoming friends. So if the chemistry is there, the partnership will continue. And in fact, just like what Sateesh was saying in terms of a large number of partnerships don't stick together. Some partners leave, some partners stay there. It's not that easy, and there are all kinds of complications come in. Egos come into picture. You think you are working harder, the other guy thinks he's working harder, and then the sharing is not equal. I've seen, forget about money, it is just a question of respect. I know cases where one partner felt that the other partner, for whatever reason, was getting undue respect from the workers in the factory. So he said,
Jealousy.
Tata, whatever. I mean, maybe he had more grey hair and the young guy was older but had more dark hair. God knows what the reason was.
No, I think you very nicely said. Shanta, you might want to add
So
to that.
it's applicable to any relationship. It's not applicable to just startups, right? So it's expectations at the end of the day.
Yeah, people get married and also get divorced.
Yeah.
That happens.
It's just sheer expectations.
So I think it's a human thing. Probably ask your Robi professor, she or he might answer that question. Thank you very much. Well, I think we'll have to manage, all good things have to come to an end. We'll have to manage time. However, since I promised all of you that I will give an opportunity for each of the panel members to, for a minute quickly, you would like to give a message, say anything that you can say that. With that, we will closer. Please, Shanta, with you.
So as Sateesh said, this is the time for you, the new India, and we have opened up a lot of resources for you generations, you know, the generations of, to build the new leaders and new entrepreneurs of this country. So do leverage those opportunities. You know, when we were growing up, we had very less opportunities, and it really get, in a class of 60, 50 of them went to US and other countries to get advanced degrees. That's also great opportunity for sure, no doubt about it. Great learnings for living in other countries. But this is the time for you. Do leverage the resources that we are bringing to you, and show to the world that, you know, we have entrepreneurs who are solving in India problems and building technologies and products that are India made. That is only the message I have for you guys. And take that risk, you know, again, calculate the risk and take that risk. And at any age it is possible. Entrepreneurship is possible, but you need to have that nerve to be an entrepreneur for sure.
Yeah, Sateesh.
I agree with Shanta. So obviously dream big, very, very important. I think as 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds, I think this is the best time, right? Also not to create a pain, logistical pain, but I have an input for Dr. Balaji, Professor Uday, Nilima and others. I think, you know, collect best of the innovators or people who have inspiration to be an entrepreneur and just get them. I don't know how the logistics, I don't want to create logistics nightmare, so don't hate me after I leave. But get them to meet the 10 best startups in Hyderabad. Let them go. I'm happy to encourage the startups to meet and let this set of people go there and spend time, ask questions, right? Let them spend an hour, hour and a half with each company, maybe 4 or 5 companies you pick. So it's kind of an 8-hour trip. I'm sure they're going to benefit so much. One, look at what these companies are doing, what challenges they went through, interact with them, and I'm pretty confident something positive will come out of that. I'm happy to volunteer to ensure startups are ready to host them and spend their time, you know, if you were to organize something.
Sure, I think we'll never let go of an opportunity, and especially an invitation of that kind. Thank you for... Yeah, sure, we'll work that out. Yeah, Professor.
I'll just keep it short, you know, 2 words. One is don't give up on whatever you're doing. And the second is have focus. You know, in today's youth, that, you know, you keep migrating from one to the other a little too quickly. You know, so keep yourself focused on something at least for a significant time, and you're totally convinced that this is not going to work.
Yeah, just to add to what Professor said, there are 2 birds. One is a woodpecker that keeps the focus, cut. The other is a magpie. Every time it sees a shiny thing, it's a very intelligent bird, but it keeps flying from one to the other. So the choice, you know what needs to be made. Yeah, Professor.
Don't give up is 3 words, not 1. So this kind of comes down to your question a little bit. Look at what interests you and look at what's meaningful. And I would encourage you to look at, as you look at the startups and other things that are meaningful are going to have an impact. Because the meaningful things, if you develop solutions, they're going to write you checks, am I right? And if you're doing meaningful things and you never hit the big thing, you're going to have a very rewarding life. And the journey's going to connect you with really interesting people. For those, there are a lot of opportunities to make a difference in the world. And a lot of us make a little difference, and a big difference is made up by a lot of people making a little difference.
Thank you, Professor Oaks. I think what you got is you take a ton of jasmine, crush it, or evaporate it. You'll get this much of ether. So all these people brought all their life experience to you in a 1 hour short time they tried to share. Let's give them a big hand, such wonderful panels. I must, without being too formal, I must thank each one of you for coming here and spending your time and patiently listening and answering our students' questions. Thank you very much, each one of you. Thank you. Small facilitation.
I think Desai sir wanted to leave at 4:15. Sorry for the 8 minutes delay, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us, sir. So we'll have the felicitation to the guests here. I request CEO Mrs. Neelma ma'am to kindly come onto the stage along with Dean Engineering Professor Vijay Kumar sir and Dean Computer Science Professor Vishnumurthy sir to felicitate Professor William Wokes. I request Chancellor sir along with Neelma ma'am to felicitate. The buses will not leave now, don't hurry. We have informed the buses. Okay. So I request Neelma ma'am and Chancellor sir and the deans to felicitate William Wokes on behalf of Anurag University. Thanks for being with us, sir. I request our leadership to honor Sri Sateesh Andra sir on behalf of Anurag University. I request CEO madam and the deans and registrar sir and chancellor sir to honor Sateesh Andra sir. Sir, we wish you come back every year, put lots of funds here and earn millions of money from us. And I will request the leadership team to felicitate Shanta Thoutam ma'am. And we wish you be with us at every ideathon, every hackathon, and encourage our students with all your knowledge, ma'am. So once again, let's all put our hands together for these great people here with us at Tejas 2k24, the panel discussion. Thank you once again, sir. Thanks for being with us. I request all of you to come forward for a group photograph.
Yeah, give yourself a big hand. You have been a wonderful audience. Yeah, thank you.
So this is the beginning of Tejas 2k25. I request all the heads and deans here present in the auditorium to come forward for the photograph. So Balaji sir was saying he got a dream and it became a nightmare to us. But we really enjoyed and learned a lot out of this, sir. We wish you get lot many dreams and give us lot many nightmares.